What's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe, and today we're taking a look at my top 10 Star Wars Black Series figures of 2020. And when it comes to Black Series, I've never been that much of a collector. I did buy the first two waves and I like them a lot, but just not enough to stick with the line, especially when there's so many other good figures out there, and I wasn't really that big of a Star Wars fan, so there was no need to keep buying Black Series figures. What I would do was just buy like random characters from import companies like Mafex. I have the Mafex Darth Vader, Mafex Boba Fett, and then just other random figures here and there. But I just wasn't into Black Series enough to keep buying a bunch of those characters that I really wasn't attached to. But then in 2020, I kind of caught the Star Wars bug, and also Hasbro has really stepped up their game when it comes to Black Series figures. I feel like they're putting out things that really compete with import figures, so it made it easy to kind of dive into Black Series figures in 2020. So that's exactly what I did, and for the first year ever, I have enough Black Series figures to actually make a top 10, so I'm pretty excited about it. But let's go ahead and get into it. We have Odious and Rubio in the house to help us out, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 10. Starting off this list at the number 10, we have the 40th anniversary Empire Strikes Back Snowspeeder Luke. And this figure really caught me by surprise. I wasn't sure what to expect from him. I didn't check out any reviews, I didn't do any research or any of that stuff. I just walked into GameStop, saw him on the pegs, and picked him up. And I'm really happy I did, because they really killed it on this guy. At first, I thought it was just going to be a retooled version of the X-Wing Luke from the very first wave of Black Series figures, but I was really happy to see that that wasn't the case. There's a lot of really good stuff going on here. Improved articulation. The sculpting work is way better than it was on this original figure. I know that these aren't the same versions of the character or anything like that, but they're very similar, so that's why I kind of thought that this new one was going to be very similar to the old one, but I was happy to see that that wasn't the case. I was really impressed with the articulation. I didn't think that they would have like butterfly jointed shoulders or anything like that. So, and he does have a lot of nice sculpting work. There's a bunch of nice details, some good paint work. I like how the helmet has a bunch of scuffs and stuff going on. And speaking of the helmet, it is removable, which is really nice because he looks great with the helmet on, which is really hard to do. It's very hard to make like a removable helmet but still have it look good when it's on the figure. And when you take the helmet off, you have Luke wearing his like headgear or the head cushion or whatever you want to call it, and the head sculpt is really nice too. We've got that photorealistic technology going on, and it just looks really great. But yeah, this was a very impressive figure from something that I wasn't really expecting all that much out of. And at the number 9 spot, straight from The Mandalorian, we have one of my favorite characters from the show, the Armorer. And Hasbro did such a great job on this figure pretty much all the way around. The sculpting work is beautiful. I love all the details that we have on the shoulder pad and on the gloves. The skirt looks really nice. There's some good sculpting work in there, as well as some really nice paint. And the helmet looks good. Just everything about this figure looks really nice to me. And she does have really good articulation as well. I was happy to see that she has the double jointed neck, and she also has butterfly jointed shoulders, which is great. She has single jointed elbows, but they get some really good range. Check that out. So even though they're single joints, I'm pretty happy with what we have going on as far as the arm articulation goes. And just the articulation in general. I think they did a good job with it. And this is the retail version. And the retail version does come with less accessories, but I still like what she comes with. She has the hammer and then her little, I don't know what you'd call these, like her, not pliers, but whatever you want to call this. It's like a little thing that she would use to hold on to metal pieces as she's hitting it with the hammer, so that's cool. The only other difference between this and the exclusive version is the cape. On this one here, we have a hard plastic sculpted cape, and I actually prefer that over the cape that comes with the exclusive version. That one has like a soft goods fake fur kind of thing, and it looks cool, and it's probably a little bit more dynamic, but it also clashes with the rest of the figure. I think this one overall just looks a lot better. So I mean, it would have been nice to get the exclusive one, but honestly, I had several chances to pick it up and I just passed on it because I thought this one looked a little better. So I was more than happy just to settle for the retail one. But yeah, they killed it. Just check her out. She's a really good looking figure. And like I said, one of my favorite characters from the show. She's just so mysterious and powerful, and this figure represents that very well. So I really like this, and that's why she's at the number 9 spot on my list. And at the number 8 spot, we have Clone Commander Bly. And I'm kind of surprised because I haven't seen Bly pop up on a whole lot of top 10 lists this year, which is crazy to me because he is such a great figure. And not only is he in my top 10 for 2020, he's also probably my favorite Clone Commander figure that Hasbro has put out so far. He's not my favorite character as far as the Clone Commanders go. That would have to be Rex. But as far as the figure goes, I think they did a better job on Bly. I don't know what it is because they share a lot of the same parts. Maybe it's just because some of the design elements on Bly lend themselves a little bit better to a figure. Like, I like how the skirt thing is in the back rather than on the side of the legs, because on Rex they kind of flare out a little bit. With Bly, it's just kind of tucked to the back and you don't have to worry about it. And then I really like, I think this thing is called a pauldron. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But I like the design of his. I think it looks great. And then the belt has a little bit more going on, which kind of makes it look more interesting. I love how the visor comes down. That is so cool. And I feel like Hasbro is killing it with the clones, with the clone commanders. There are a couple of things I think they could do better. Like, this guy would be pretty much perfect if he had butterfly jointed shoulders and if he had two gun gripping hands. Because as it is right now, he only has one gun gripping hand for his right side, and then the left just has an open hand so that he could support his rifle or whatever. But he does come with two pistols, so it would be nice to be able to have him hold the two pistols at the same time, you know? But it is what it is. So they're almost there as far as giving us perfect clone commanders. But I think that Bly is probably the closest that they've gotten so far. I like the paint work on him. He does have some like scuffs and things like that going on. It's not like this super clean armor, which is cool for the clones. And like I said, this visor is really cool. And what else do we have going on? I think another thing they could have done is given him an unmasked head. I think that would have been great too. And I'm not crazy about the removable helmet thing because it can damage the head underneath. I know a lot of people have had problems with their Rex figure where it kind of smashes down the nose. But for me, I've sanded this down and chipped away at some of the plastic to leave space for his nose without any problem. But it kind of sucks to have to do that. I think for future releases, they should give him interchangeable heads. And then maybe like a loose helmet. I don't know, I guess that's a lot to ask. But anyways, as far as Bly goes, I think that Hasbro did a great job on this. And that's why he landed at number 8 on my list. So now we're at the number 7 spot, and just so you guys know, this figure and the one that landed at the number 6 spot are pretty much interchangeable for me, and they're neck and neck in terms of how much I like them. But for the sake of the list, I had to make a decision, so I put the Hoth Rebel Trooper at number 7. It's an army builder, but it has all kinds of different display options. He comes with 2 different faces, and what's cool about the double face thing is that people didn't even know about it. They just kind of hid it inside of this backpack. So check this out. You're able to remove the backpack. You could take off this little door, and then you have the creepy ass face hanging out in there. And what's awesome about that is that it wasn't announced. Like, people didn't really know about that until they had this figure and they started messing around with it. But that is so cool because these days there's so much information floating around. It's always hard to be surprised, especially if you're into the stuff and you follow all these different news outlets and reviewers and things like that. It's kind of hard to get surprised, so it's cool that Hasbro tried to surprise people with that, and that's just a really cool feature. And aside from that, you can also remove the mask, so you have the option to have the mask up or off completely. You could remove the goggles. There's all kinds of good stuff going on. And another thing I love about this figure is that he has the updated Black Series articulation. So we have movement at the head and at the neck, and then he does have the butterfly jointed shoulders. And also, oops, there goes his gun. Let's go ahead and move that. He does have single joints at the elbows, but they get really good range, and that's something that we've seen on a lot of Black Series figures lately, so that's great. And just in general, this is a really fun figure with lots of different options, and I plan on getting at least probably 2 more just to have them run around with Luke. I would like to do some like shots in the snow with a bunch of these guys. I think that would be fun. But yeah, this is such a great figure. They killed it. And like I said, he could have been higher on the list, but I mean, there's just so many good figures this year, man. It's hard, but he's such a great figure. I really, really like this guy. And at the number 6 spot, we have the Troopers. And this spot's going to be shared between the 3 different Troopers because they're all basically the same figure. They just have different paint. And in the Incinerator's case, he does have a couple of additional attachments. But aside from that, they're all basically the same. But man, these figures are so well done. Hasbro did such a great job simplifying the articulation, but still making it more functional than previous Stormtroopers. And they just killed it. These things are so much fun. And for me, these are kind of the end-all, be-all Stormtroopers. I don't really need to look at any other brands, anything like that. These things are perfect for me. They're extremely well done, and they're affordable. So I really, really love these things. And I would say that out of the 3, I mean, the classic one is really dope, but I'd say the Incinerator one is probably my favorite because I love the red highlights. I think it looks really cool, but the classic one is awesome too. As you can see, I have 3 of them. I do plan on picking up at least 2 more, I would say. I think I wanted 5 total. The more the better, but I'm actively going to try to get 5. But you know what? If I'm in the store and I see them, no matter how many of these things I have, I'll probably be picking them up. But my minimum is 5, so hopefully I can get some more pretty soon. And then the Remnant Troopers are nice too, but they are my least favorite only because it makes it hard to buy multiples because the battle damage and stuff is exactly the same on the different figures. So that kind of sucks. I do plan on customizing one of these just to make it look a little different, but I really wish that Hasbro did not use the paint printing technology or whatever on these, because then it kind of made them identical to each other, and it made it less appealing to buy multiples. But they do look good. And I think for the Remnant Troopers, 2 is probably enough for me. But yeah, these things are so badass. And like I said, they're really fun to play with. I've spent a lot of time messing around with these troopers, and I never get bored with them. They're so easy to pose around. They look so good, and I'm just really happy with these things. So it's really nice to see that Hasbro is going back and improving on things that they've released a bunch of times. Like, I'm sure they've done all kinds of different Stormtroopers, but it doesn't stop them from coming along and making them even better. So they're killing it with these.
And at the number 5 spot, we have Ahsoka.
That's right. So for number 5, we have Ahsoka. And this is a really nice figure. The only thing that kind of sucks about her is that she was almost impossible to get. She was a Walmart exclusive, and the whole wave that she was a part of just never hit my area. So I would have never got this figure if it wasn't for somebody on Instagram who reached out and offered to hook me up with one. So shout out to JoJo Photo 3000 for getting this in my hands, because if you didn't hook it up, then I never would have picked up this figure. And I'm so happy that I have her, because this thing is awesome. And they do a good job with females in general in the Black Series line. I think that some of the best female figures that Hasbro has done have been in Black Series. I think they're much better than we've seen on some other lines, and Ahsoka is a really good example of that, because they killed it pretty much in every aspect of this figure. She has really good articulation. I was happy to see that she has the butterfly jointed shoulders. Her arms have single jointed elbows, and they don't get as much bend as some other single jointed elbows, but it's still pretty decent. And just in general, the articulation is great on this figure, but she looks amazing. That's the main thing I like about this figure. They killed it when it comes to the sculpt, the details, and all of that. She's a great looking figure. This figure might have had more of an impact on me because I don't have any of the previous Ahsoka figures. So this is the first Black Series Ahsoka that I've ever owned, so I was like kind of blown away by it. I don't know if any of the other previous ones are as good as this, but this thing is amazing, and I really, really like it, and that's why she actually made it into my top 5 of 2020. How awesome is that? So yeah, Ahsoka is a beast, and she's also the assistant's favorite character, aside from Baby Yoda, of course, aka Grogu, but she even drew a picture of Ahsoka while I was doing my little top 10 list here. So shout out to the assistant for killing it here. She used this as the model. And yeah, so that's always awesome that we could share a love for a character. Actually, the first episode of Mandalorian that she ever saw was the episode that had Ahsoka. So she was kind of like, she was into it, which is awesome with it. And at the number 4 spot, we have Kit Fisto. And this is actually the first Black Series figure that I picked up that really impressed me, and it made me aware of how good these figures have gotten over the years. I was happy to see that he has the updated Jedi body that has like the more recent articulation for Black Series figures, and I think that's awesome. The one thing I wish was a little bit better was the torso articulation. He doesn't have all that much movement, and I've been wanting to modify it a little bit, but I just haven't taken the time to do it. Big highlight here is the head sculpt. I absolutely love the way this head sculpt looks. They did such a great job with that alien look, and then he does have like the tentacles that kind of resemble dreads. I think that's fun, and he's just a great figure. I don't know too much about Kit Fisto. I haven't really done a deep dive into his character. I know very little about him, but I know that he was in Clone Wars and in the prequels, but he's such a cool looking design. I just love the way his head looks, to be honest with you. I think it's so cool and weird. And even when you have him alongside a bunch of other weird Star Wars characters, he stands out because he just has a unique look to him. And from what little I know about Kit Fisto, I know that he's a character that like laughs a lot and smiles, and he's kind of more goofy than other Jedi. And I think that's fun, It kind of adds a little bit of diversity to the way that the Jedi act. And he's just a badass. I really, really like this figure. I think they did a great job with it. And before we get into the top 3, let's go ahead and take a look at some honorable mentions, starting off with the one that's probably going to get me into the most arguments, and that would be Mando. So I think that Hasbro did a really nice job on this. The sculpting work is beautiful. The articulation is really good. He came with some nice accessories. As you can see, he has his blaster, and then he does have his jetpack. And then I even went ahead and added a Harker Customs cape just to make it look a little cooler. So I think this is a really nice figure, but for me, it just didn't give me everything that I wanted out of a Mando figure. Because he's the main character of the show, I kind of have like a higher standard for him. Like for Armor, I think the Black Series one is good. The Figure Arts one might come out and it'll be better, but I don't think I need to buy it. But for Mando, I wanted like a near perfect version of the character. So once I got this, I was like, I don't know if it I don't know if it hits all the marks for me, and it kind of made me go out and buy the figure arts one. And once I got the figure arts one, the Black Series one just kind of became obsolete, and I just kind of put it to the side. And I haven't really messed with it since. It's just been kind of hanging out on the shelf. And I think it's a great looking figure, but for me, the figure arts one is like my go-to Mando at this point. We'll see what happens when the Mafex version comes out. And, I know it's unfair to compare these two, but, I'm just talking about like which 6-inch Mando is the one for me, and that's the figure arts one. So for that reason, this one kind of became obsolete. Like I didn't really need it. So that's why he's not on the top 10. He definitely deserves a spot on the top 10. So if you have him on your top 10 list, I would totally understand and I would agree with you. But for me, this figure just like I just don't really need it that much because I have the figure arts one. That might be a stupid reason not to have him on the top 10, but it is what it is. I do think it's an amazing figure, and if you don't want to pay for a figure arts one or the Mafex one, I think this is a really, really good option. Even without the soft goods cape, I think it's a great figure. But yeah, that's why he's on the honorable mentions and not quite on the top 10. And then next up, we have Zeb. And Zeb is cool for a couple of reasons. For me, just as an individual figure, I think he's awesome. I really like this character design. This is a character that I was interested in getting in 6-inch form before I knew his name, before I knew where he came from, before I knew anything about the character. I wanted a figure of it just because I thought he looked really cool. And I know a lot of people were excited about this figure because he kind of completes the Rebels team, and that's dope. That aspect doesn't really mean much to me at this point because I haven't checked out Rebels yet. But I think it's very cool for people that are like a big fan of Rebels. They finally get to complete their main squad. And he does look really cool next to his homie Kanan right here. So that's dope. And I do plan on checking out Rebels eventually. And when I do, I'm sure that I'll like this figure even more because, I'll get the full effect. And then next up on the honorable mentions list, we have the Mandalorian Super Commando. And I like this guy a lot, but one thing that kind of ruined it for me is the damn arm wires broke right away. As you can see, mine doesn't even have them anymore because I cut them off so that I could freely enjoy the figure. But I was bending his arm and those things just snapped off. I kind of forgot that happens with this body. It is the same body that they used for Jango Fett years ago, and I think that actually happened on the Jango Fett that I bought when it originally came out. So just kind of forgot about it, and I was careless and they broke. But it kind of ruined the experience of the figure. But still, if you put that aside, I think this is a really nice figure. I really like the design. This Darth Maul slash Boba Fett kind of thing going on. It looks really cool. And it's an army builder, so that's nice too. So this is definitely a really fun figure, but it just didn't make my top 10. Honestly, even though it's kind of an old mold and everything, if they had done something to improve the wires on the arms and they didn't break on me, this guy might have made it into the top 10, or he definitely would have had a better chance. But as it is, I think it's a pretty decent figure, but just not on the top 10 list. And then next up, we have Luke and Yoda. And these are awesome figures. These are really, really nice, especially Yoda. I don't have any Black Series Yoda figures, so this is my first one. And man, they killed it. You know what? This one, damn. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm like, man, this could have been on the top 10 for sure, but I don't know who I would have taken off. But this is a really cool set, and I got it on clearance, which is even cooler. I think I got it for like 24 bucks or something like that. It was well worth it. The Luke figure is awesome too. He's got the updated Black Series articulation, the photorealistic head sculpt, and he also came with some extra hands, which is really nice because we don't always see that on Black Series figures. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, I think this Yoda might be the highlight of the set. Damn, look at him. He looks really good. I think I'm going to look back and be like, I should have found a spot for Yoda on the top 10. Just gotta take some time here and appreciate what we have going on. But this is a really nice looking figure, and this is just a really great set. But even looking at it now, I don't know who I would have taken off the top 10 to put this in there. And then last but not least, we have everyone's favorite weird little Star Wars guy, Quill. This was by far the best figure in the wave, in my opinion. This is a very recent wave. It kind of came out at the end of the year, along with Moff Gideon and Greef Karga. But I think this guy was the best out of all three of those. And especially, it's just the sculpt. It's just such a good looking figure. He doesn't have the best articulation, but he has enough for a character like this. But the main thing about it that I love is this head sculpt. They did such a great job on the head sculpt. We've got the removable helmet. And yeah, just a really nice looking figure. He definitely could have made it into the top 10, but just couldn't find a place for him. But yeah, those are the honorable mentions. I know I have some unpopular things going on here, but it is what it is. But let's go ahead and take a look at the top 3. And as far as the top 3 goes, I'm kind of nervous because, to be honest with you, all 3 of the figures that are in the top 3, all the places that they're in are interchangeable. Like number 3 could have been number 1, number 1 could have been number 2, 2 could have been 3. It's all over the place. I kind of like all 3 of these figures equally. I did go ahead and rank them because, I have to for the list, but just know going into the top 3, I love all 3 of these figures pretty much the same. And at the number 3 spot, we have somebody that's probably one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. And I actually just discovered this guy in like the last 9 months or something like that. And that would be Plo Koon. And this is such a cool character. And that's a big reason why he's so high on my list. Obviously, this is my list, so it's very subjective. And the characters and what I think about the characters are gonna factor in to my list and where I put certain figures. I know people don't agree with that approach, but I don't care. I like this character, and I think this figure represents it very well. And man, I just love this character design. I like how ugly he is, but then when you get to know the character, he's very like kind and like thoughtful, and he's like a tactician. He's not like this weird monster, but he does look like a weird monster, and the figure kind of represents that very well because the sculpting work on this head is amazing. It does look kind of nasty, but then when you like think about the character, and kind of sit with them a little bit, it doesn't seem nasty. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but I'll tell you right now, I love this character and I really like this figure. And if this would have been like the Clone Wars version of this character, this guy would have been number 1 easy. But as it is now, this is the way that he appeared in the prequel movies, and I still think it looks really good. The head is pretty much like Clone Wars, so this is something that could possibly be customized into a Clone Wars version of Plo Koon. But yeah, this is a great figure, and the robe makes him look unique because I haven't seen a lot of Black Series figures that have robes exactly like this. Like, this thing has a lot going on. It does have this big crazy hood, which really doesn't work. It's like, look how big that is. That's kind of crazy. And you can remove the robe if you want, and that's another look you could have for the figure. But yeah, this is such a nice figure of such a cool character, and that's why I had to get him into my top 3. Number 2 spot, we have the one and only Darth Vader. They put him out once in the retro card, and then they put him out in the Empire Strikes Back blue box style, whatever you want to call that one. But that's how good this figure is. And I'll tell you right now, this is the only Darth Vader figure that I've purchased that didn't disappoint me in some way. Like, I have the Mafex one, it's cool, but there was things that I just didn't like about it. I remember buying the very first Black Series Darth Vader, and I was just like, nah, this thing sucks, it's Darth Vader, it should have been a lot better. But this figure comes through and corrects everything that did wrong, and Hasbro just did a great job with this guy. Everything about it is pretty much perfect. It's probably my favorite 6-inch Darth Vader figure. It overthrows the Mafex one, in my opinion. It has really nice soft goods. The sculpting work on it is nice. It has the updated Black Series articulation once again. I think I've said that 50 times in this video, but it's an important thing that they added the articulation to such an iconic character. We've got the butterfly joints, the double neck thing, the increased articulation on the elbows. Look at that. Look at that bend on a single jointed elbow. That's crazy. But yeah, this is such a nice looking figure, and it just feels so good to finally have a really dope Darth Vader that I'm very happy with, that I don't have any complaints about. This guy almost made it to number 1. He was right there. Like I said, the top 3 spots, I pretty much, just consider it a tie because all 3 of these figures are awesome. But man, this Darth Vader really made it difficult for me not to put him at number 1. But man, I really, really love this figure. And coming in at number 1, and I honestly think that this is going to be number 1 on most people's list, it's none other than everybody's favorite bounty hunter, Cad Bane. And man, this is such a great looking figure. And again, let me tell you, let me make this clear, okay? So the character and how much the character had an impact on me plays a big part when I'm putting together these lists. So for Cad Bane, like, I wasn't much of a Star Wars guy, but once I saw that they were coming out with the Cad Bane figure, I was like, oh man, I gotta pick that guy up. I love the design. Even when I saw it a couple of years ago, I was like, if they ever make a 6-inch figure of that blue cowboy dude, I'm gonna buy it. And then once they announced the 6-inch version, I was like, I might as well try to learn a little bit about the character before I get it. So then I started watching Clone Wars, I started doing some more Star Wars research, and then I kind of fell down the rabbit hole when it comes to Star Wars, and lately I've been really, really into it, and Cad Bane is a big reason why. So I really like this guy. He has such a cool design. He's got that weird sci-fi western cowboy thing going on, and this figure is just amazing. It catches the badass aura that Cad Bane has so perfectly. And man, I just love the bizarre look. I like the blue skin, the hat, just everything about the character design is amazing. And this figure just captures it amazingly well. The sculpting work on it is extremely well done. The articulation is nice. I do wish there was a little bit more going on, especially in the torso, but honestly, I think that he has everything that he needs. I know some people have complained about the wires on the arms breaking, but mine have been okay. I really like the way that they designed the piece to kind of swivel around so you could kind of maneuver without it breaking on you. And this version is actually the exclusive one, so he came with Toto 360, which kind of makes it even cooler. But even though, you know, the retail version is fine too, if you can't get your hands on this one to get Toto, you know, the star of the show is obviously Cad Bane, but you know, the added addition of Toto 360 is nice too. But man, this is such a great figure, and he deserves to be on people's, you know, top spot on their top 10s at number 1, whatever it is. But once again, I'm going to reiterate that I like Cad Bane, Darth Vader, and my man right here, Plo Koon, pretty much the same. So I had a tough time like when I got to the top 3, because these 3 figures are absolutely amazing in my opinion. But yeah, Cad Bane, Vader, and Plo Koon, 3 amazing figures. All right, guys, so there it is. That's my list, my top 10 Black Series figures of 2020. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video, because I had a lot of fun putting it together. And it's always exciting to talk about something that's new to you, you know? And when it comes to a lot of Star Wars stuff, I'm pretty unfamiliar. Obviously, I did see the original movies back in the day. I've seen the prequels. I've seen some of the new ones, all that good stuff. But I never really got crazy into it up until recently. And lately, I've just kind of been in love with all of it, you know? So it's a really good time to get into Star Wars and into Black Series because, in my opinion, I think that Hasbro is doing the best that they've ever done with this line. I think they're killing it. They've given us so many good figures, and it's just exciting, you know, to see like Clone Wars and be like, oh man, that weird looking character is awesome. Who is it? Oh, Plo Koon? Is there a figure? Oh shit, there is. All right, cool. You buy it and it's an awesome figure. Like, that whole experience is a lot of fun, and that's kind of what I'm going through now with Star Wars and Black Series. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I know some people kind of give me shit like, oh, all of a sudden you're into Star Wars. It's like, yeah, I'll get into it whenever I feel like it. So here we are. This is the right time for me, and I'm just loving it. So this is good stuff. I do look forward to taking a look at more Black Series figures in the coming years as they come out. Hopefully they continue to do a good job like they've done this year. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. So anyways, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to let me know what your top 10 Black Series figures are from this year. I'm really interested to hear what people's opinions are, because I'm sure everybody's list is going to be different than mine, and I just want to hear what people think. And also be sure to let me know why you like certain characters or why you put them in certain spots and all that good stuff, because our personal bias definitely factors into these lists. You know, obviously where I put certain figures on my list is going to be dictated by how I feel about the character, the execution of the figure, and just the experience of buying it, or just there's a lot of things that factor into there. I never claimed that any of my lists are the gospel or anything like that. It's just my opinion, and it's just for fun. So be sure to share your opinions in the comments below. I really look forward to reading them, and thank you so much. Peace.